2-0 weekend.
No.
Let's go.
We got him, Cole. We got him.
And boy, was it a smooth, clean 2-0, just like they always are. Welcome, everybody, to 100 Talk. I'm Cole. That's Jordan. We're here to talk 100 Thieves LCS. As usual, it's our Monday night family time.
That's right. This is a family meeting, Cole.
Family meeting.
I hope that you all received the note in your lunchbox that we will be holding this time tonight to discuss the LCS weekend.
And that we love you, and we can't wait till you get home.
Mm-hmm. And we're proud of you.
First of all, due diligence out of the way. Thank you to Elgato for being our lighting and capture provider. Jordan's looking a little extra bright tonight because it's the halo of good behavior and the Attack on Titan drop, because you got the yellow hoodie just
emanating extra light.
It's like the sun. He's wearing the sun.
It is sun colored. Gold, I believe, is the described.
Yeah.
New color in the 100 Thieves colorway, perhaps.
Oh, well, they have lemonade for the hoodie, but it's a different yellow. So,
yeah.
But yeah, a little, so yes, right now we don't have as quite granular control over Jordan's lighting as we typically do per some setup stuff that we need to fix, but that's okay
Windows
because
11.
Yeah, should have been running Windows NT. You know this by now. Also, shout out to Rivet for powering everything we do except for tonight's podcast, because I don't have one on me right now. But I do have this 100 Thieves Enter Infinity active camo thing. No, Jordan, hide it. Jordan, hide it.
They didn't have Rip It at Walgreens. Rip It sales guy. Get on the Walgreens. Come on.
You know you're supposed to go to Menards.
Oh, that's, they don't sell medicine in Menards. Maybe they do. I don't know.
We're still waiting on the new drop from Rip It. May it happen soon. Anyway, let's get into the podcast. Here's what we're going to do. A lot of you may not have seen, there was an interview that Parqueso did with Mithy, and he did it after the 2-0 and actually got a lot of information out about the story of the team from Worlds until now. Even though Mithy wasn't there for the whole thing, obviously. He gives a lot of background on how the team's been feeling and how they started out the spring. Some background about like what the team was trying to do, and then some 6-man roster stuff. So we're going to put that in our pockets for later. Because we're probably going to spend most of the time tonight talking about that, but we do want to hit the games first, as we always do. So that's a tease. We'll be talking a lot about that coming up. Now, we tweeted a link to that interview earlier, so if you want to catch up while you're waiting for that, please feel free to hit our Twitter. And our formal apologies to Ron Jobinson, who's in chat waiting to be brought up to speed on the Mithy interview since he didn't see it, but he's going to have to hang around a little bit longer. Yeah. So let's get into it. Let's talk about some of the games.
We played some games.
We played a couple of games. The Golden Guardians game. So I had what I thought was a spoiler. Came across my Twitter on accident, right? So I was on VOD Squad. I had to stay away from, I try and not look at my phone at all when I'm not able to see the game live until I can catch it, because I know you guys are going to DM me and at me on Twitter and tag me on Discord, all this stuff, and spoil the games.
And you drive by your neighbor's house and they're watching it. They're all having, they're going wild. When
I look out across the cul-de-sac and through the front window, I can see the TV, and it's got like 100T victory on it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just hard these days to dodge the spoilers, but you do a good job.
I do mostly do a good job. I caught a glimpse of the Everything Evil pod tagged me and said they were looking forward to hearing my reaction to the game with a smiley face on it. Right.
Oh boy. Mm-hmm.
And so I took that to mean, dang it, we lost. And the Everything Evil pod is being evil and rubbing it in. And then I started watching the game, thinking that we lost, and feeling confirmation that, yes, we did indeed lose this game.
This is an L. This is going to be an L for sure.
It played out according to what I thought was a spoiler for sure.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of ugliness and nastiness. I'm not sure how much we're going to dwell on the games because, like I said, a lot of what we want to talk about is that Mithy interview and some general team stuff. But we need to talk about what happened. First of all, we had the top lane situation, right? At first, I was kind of like, all right, someday on Sion. Okay, I kind of like the Sion. All right, I'm here for this. Let's see what happens. And then, you know, he played into Gnar. And it turns out, Jordan, I don't know if you knew this, but Gnar is a pretty tough champion to play Sion into. And it did not go as well as it could have been, you know, for us.
Yeah, it looked like a tough matchup. It played out like, that's one of those where you or I queue up for that game and we play it and then we don't play League again for months. You know, like this is a dumb game.
Yeah, why have we ever bother with this game?
Yeah.
So that situation was pretty bad in lane. He opened up like a 50 CS lead in like 10 minutes. It was like
it looked like he was doing the old Licorice, you know?
Exactly. Back to his old tricks. Someday CS looked like my CS.
Yeah.
That is how bad and dire that situation got in top lane.
Yeah.
And we got to see all sorts of ugliness, like Jordan. I was telling you off stream, we have to like codify this term or something, or like just come up with a name for it because it's an old special move of ours. It's an oldie but a goodie. When we find their tank and dump all our abilities into it. I mean, nothing makes me happier than watching our target selection choose, okay, who's the tankiest member right now? It's going to be the Nautilus. All right, everything you got. You know, like Kylo Ren in where he's like, more. It just spend all the cooldowns on the tank and not get to kill. And the OA's just walking with the hook back away from us, like, into the wall. You know, like it's so embarrassing.
It just slides out. The thing it reminded me of was, oh dang it, your incredibly funny Kylo Ren thing made me forget what I was gonna mention. Maybe it will come back to me. If it doesn't, it's probably fine because I think that's a really good description of how that went.
Yeah. Man. So it looked dire. We had even when you look at the end game stats, we've got almost 2 Flame Horizons on the scoreboard, right? Like Licorice finished only 90 CS in front of Someday. Only 90 because Someday was able to climb right back into that. And also we had where was the other one? Oh, in Pride Stalker. 311 CS to Closer's 206. So fortunately, Golden Guardians decided to commit the throw of all throws. I think what was the gold lead up to like 11K?
Yeah, it was way up there. I think it was how many digits is that? 5 digits?
Yeah, it was definitely a 5-digit deficit. And not only that, but like while the lead was out of control, we severely lost like 2 or 3 fights. Like late game. And I honestly cannot explain how we didn't die. Like I'm not sure. Like when I even watched the highlights back and I'm still not quite sure. Yeah. So in Game of Legends has, at 32 minutes, they had a 11.2 thousand gold lead.
Not enough. Cole, not enough.
Not enough against this upstart 100 Thieves team.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tweeted after this game. I don't know if you saw. I said, I take back everything bad I said about objective bounties. And I was trying to do a funny tweet.
Funny tweet, Jord.
Yeah, I don't know. The I actually don't know how much the objective bounties were to blame, depending on which side you're on. because we were scaling, Cole. It's the classic situation. It's you're down 11K gold at 32 minutes, and you just
Right where you want it.
you type in team chat scaling, and you're fine, and you win the game. And turns out that is exactly what we did.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, so I guess it's Abadaga and FBI scaling plus someday scaling enough to finally not get killed. I mean, let's make no mistake about it. Someday got killed a lot early. Yeah. And the team looked disjointed. Like, it was bad. It was not a good looking game for us.
Yeah, he was playing the sad Scion, which is the Scion that only ults away from the fight, you know?
Yeah.
It's like he uses it like another flash. It's another summoner spell. I kind of wish, like, the Tryndamere, if you get hit while you're walking away, does the chicken. I kind of wish they had like a different sound effect for it when you're ulting away from the fight. Like the Jurassic Park on the recorder.
Or the Price is Right. Boom, 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 boom. Wow.
Yeah, because there were some of those. I mean, it's like, what are you gonna do? You gotta try to survive. I'm not putting any blame on him here, but it's just one of those where you're like, that is not. Other Scions you've seen played, it's like, wow, they're using that ult as a killer engage. It's like, he's just trying not to get rolled in the side lane here against this Gnar, this very troublesome Gnar. So
yeah. We had a mid lane damage diff in this. So Abadaga on the Victor put in 42,000 damage for this game compared to Ablaliv's 25% or 25,000. So a little bit of a discrepancy there. FBI also out damaging his lane opponent 51k to 25k.
Wow.
So that made up for the top diff and more. And like, I don't know, it's still just so weird because nobody looks good in the end tally, you know? It is
strange. Like, you look at the lost KDA. Read his stat line: 7, 2 and 5, 371 CS.
Great win, Lost. Yeah,
exactly.
It looks like a win.
Potential MVP performance from Lost in this game. It really had a standout showing.
Yeah, you know when you lose a game in solo queue and then like you go to the lobby and you get a Hex Tech chest because like teammate got an S on your team. You're like, wait, who? Who got an S? We got stumped. Yeah.
And you know how mad they are.
Yeah.
I don't know what else I could do.
It was a weird situation. And all sorts of like questionable stuff was happening. Someone called this out in chat, and I think I saw Shaker's tweet on it that no one from either team went into top lane for 12 minutes.
Yeah.
That's a significant portion of the game.
Yeah.
No one went to the top lane.
Chunk. I mean, you talk about which lanes are most important. You're not going to put that in the PowerPoint for why top lane is the most important lane. That doesn't speak well for it. I feel that way whenever I play top. Mm-hmm. Just like, man, or when you watch a game and it's like there's a 4v4 and then top lane is just doing top lane things. Apparently, you can also just sort of leave.
Yeah, that's also an option. Now, BC says it wasn't technically all the way true that Someday and Ava both caught waves during that time. But I think like in general, it was bad, right? Like no one was there. The macro was weird. Unfortunately for them, they entered away the win. So this is kind of like the throw of throws. We got the objective bounties, as you mentioned. And let's not forget, play the game, Jordan. Do you remember the soul fight? 3 Drakes to 3 Drakes. Teams engaged in heated combat at the Dragon Pit.
Yeah.
Closers Lee Sin out of the back of the pit. He's waiting to get in the action. Tosses a Q over the wall and steals the soul. Lee Sin Q steal of the soul. And that was, that was the
37 HP, something like that.
It already was like, we're starting to turn the game, and like, even though they were up 10k, they couldn't beat us in fights. Like fights were coming out pretty even, and then once we stole the soul, that was pretty much it. And the final fight was so goofy from Pride Stalker. Pride Stalker is...
Wait, before you get to Pride Stalker, I gotta say, I every time there's a steal like that, I have to imagine that there is a math teacher somewhere who's watching and just like shaking their head, thinking, "You asked when you were ever going to need this in real life. This math. Here it is. You knew how much your smite would do, and you did the math wrong." League of Legends for junglers, it's like a high stakes math test.
Yeah. It's like smite equals negative B plus or minus the square root.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's the final exam. And in this one, Closer got it right. So yeah, that was a very important cue, high value cue on that.
Game winning Q. And there was a game losing play from Bridestalker because this man Nocturne ulted right into our team before anybody on his side was ready. I don't know. It was a gift from heaven. And it came from above too. Like the Nocturne just swooped in. Hey guys, let's fight. I want all three of you to die now, just to me.
Yeah.
And they
didn't
said
work.
no thanks and killed him and then won the game. So that was a stupid game. Can we just
happen sometimes.
Can we just say that was a stupid game? So there's a conversation we had about resilience.
That's what they want to talk about.
Resilience is one of those things where you definitely want to be a resilient team. Okay. It's going to win you games at times that you have no business winning, like maybe this one. My idea of resilience is more along the lines of like, yeah, you're able to bounce back when you get punched in the face, right? And to me, I think primarily of like game to game for that. Because this game was lost. So I'm not sure I can like attribute the win to resilience for the team, because this was just a weird, stupid game where Golden Guardians threw, and I'm glad we didn't just totally give up.
Yeah.
So we happened to be in the right place. Did resilience earn the win? Sort of. I don't know.
Yeah. It's so Papa Smithy did talk about, and I think this is maybe the Twitter Spaces thing that they do now.
Oh yeah. So, and let's mention that. So, because I didn't know this until like a few hours ago. So for the past 2 weeks, Papa Smithy has done a Twitter space with 100T Esports page, which is being run by Zach, it sounds like right now, where they had like a 20-minute post-game or post-weekend conversation about the games. And I found it pretty cool. I like the idea. I think they can do more with it, but for right now, it sounds like it's kind of good to hear about their like strategy and picks, because it's like he's close to the games and he talks a lot about that. So didn't gain so much information about things as a whole, but about those games, draft and strategy, that is very useful. So anyway, I'm going to be looking for those because I totally missed them.
Yeah, it'll be. I actually saw one. It gave me a notification it was live. And I, of course, didn't catch it. I tried to go back and watch it.
Yeah, right.
He's like, went live 2 hours ago. I was like, are they still going? My goodness. But anyway, in the space, he said, Twitter space, he said, in scrims, what they'll try to do, he said a lot of teams will go down 12-0. And I think in scrims, you're trying goofy stuff. You've got weird picks coming out. Sometimes that can just happen. You get blown up. Somebody pops off, has a crazy game. And he said it's not uncommon in those to kind of just hurry up and go next. Get to your next scrim, try again.
Sure.
That kind of.
Oh, excuse me.
He said one of the things I've been working on is not doing that and just trying to make them work for it. I think is maybe the terminology he used. So I think that within a game, having that mindset, right? It's I think if you can maintain it, I think that's good, because every once in a while you get a game like this, right? And I think especially in best of ones, it can be really easy. A scrim, it's like, hey, look, we can still learn something from this, even though we're not going to win, or even though it's kind of busted. Like, you're not going to be able to really have the kind of environment you hope to have in a scrim if you're down that far that early. So I think that's a positive thing that they looked at, as Papa Smithy said, they're looking at these scrims as an opportunity to recreate the ones that are busted, to recreate a situation where it's like, well, we've got no chance at this, but let's try anyway. And so, yeah, I think in that sense, resiliency resonates with me. The work you have to do after, accolades for resiliency, you get the prize for that. How do you make sure that that doesn't happen again is really what you have to kind of take from that to work on. Clearly, they didn't give up. That paid off. That worked.
They
but
didn't. They
gotta-
didn't FF, and
They didn't.
by virtue of not FFing, they were recipients of the throw.
That's right. Exactly. I mean, that's why it's kind of, I mean, this analogy holds across all sports, right? Like, unforced errors will happen, especially if you're playing against an opponent who is not, top of the table. Mistakes can and will happen.
Yeah.
You have to give them a chance to do that, right? You have to make that setting possible.
Yeah.
And in this one, I guess the thing that's crazy to me is it's usually impossible to lose if you're that far ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that is the thing that feels like unexpected.
But I'm telling you, Pride Soccer is just this weird enigma where he's like hyper aggro and it serves him well a lot of times until he eventually, like, law of averages catches up. Like, that's seems to be like every time I watch Pride Soccer and actually pay attention to him, that's what happens. It's like, oh, yep, he's causing problems. Oh, yeah. And just eventually he does something like Nocturne ults into 3 of us in the middle of the map at, 44 minutes or something like that. You know what I mean? So, it is what it is.
Watch that play. Just I always like to watch those plays and like, what did he think was going to happen here?
Yeah.
Did he really think he could 1v3?
He must have thought they had some kind of movement
Maybe
abilities into their. He's char.
I think you have to hit R again. Is the crazy thing. It's a double cast. I'm pretty sure.
Is it?
The Nocturne.
Oh, because you turn off the lights and then you go char like that.
The first sneeze. People are like, watch it. Be careful, man. Like, I got another one coming. Char.
One finger up.
Don't do.
Yeah.
Let's wait for the what do they call the comms?
Yeah.
Behind the comms, behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they call that segment. What did it sound like?
Let's keep workshopping the name live on the podcast.
we're doing a LCS. This is for them.
Yeah,
we're just contributing our part here.
Yeah. So that was that ugly game. We talked too long about it, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
We also played against FlyQuest this weekend. FlyQuest, who, boy howdy, has had our number this season, haven't they?
Sure have.
They've beaten us a lot this season. It's been frustrating, and I wasn't feeling too great after the Golden Guardians near loss. Just being like, Jose Deoda's gonna lock in Hecarim, and it's just gonna be over. Like, that's just how these things play out. But Jordan, I know in my heart of hearts, that Reaper and Papa Smithy and the crew have been listening to our podcast because we got the ban wish list this weekend. All right. Both games featured first ban sets of Hecarim and Tahm Kench.
There we go.
And even against Golden Guardians, we even got the Graves ban, which is number 3 on my list for us. Can you believe our fortune?
I mean, is it fortune, Cole, or is it ingenuity?
Fortune.
Really?
Can you believe the fortune that we actually got the ban wish list? I was shocked. I was like, there's going to be no Hecarim this weekend.
Yeah. Reaper was like, guys, I'd like to ban Seraphine. Ban Seraphine? He's like, sorry, did you say Hecarim? Hecarim, banned. There it is.
It was a fortunate mistake. I was so happy about this. We don't know how to play against Hecarim. And we mostly don't know how to play against Tahm Kench either. Well, the problem with Tahm Kench is we don't know how, when the circle finally does pop up on the W, how to not be in the circle.
We got to move off it. That's the hard part.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to move. And I know that Observer sees it longer than the actual player does. Mm-hmm. But we got to hit our flash. Anyway, we didn't have to deal with that. We got rid of both Achilles' heels.
Yeah.
By just using the ban phase properly, and not getting cute with it. Instead, banning out what plays well against us, And man, I just felt full of pride and joy when that happened. And then
and then the game
they
started.
locked in Scion.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is great because we just played Scion into Gnar and got smacked around in the lane. So I know we learned our lesson and we're about to lock in this Gnar. And someday is gonna flame Horizon Kumo and it is gonna be a smash. And then we locked in Aatrox.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, oh my goodness. Didn't we play yesterday?
Yeah.
We kind of didn't for the first 20 minutes. So maybe that's the problem. Maybe they didn't see it. Maybe they weren't aware of how that early game. So I was just thinking we totally had the opportunity to easily dominate top lane. And then we threw it away. Fortunately, there's this thing. There's this thing. Fortunately, I am very stupid. And Aatrox turns out to be also, in Someday's hands, a very good choice.
Yeah.
Into the Scion.
Okay. It was beautiful to watch. It was a thing of beauty. Is there any chance that they could rename the champion after Someday retires? It's like retiring a number. Could they rename Aatrox someday? I'm just asking. Is that possible? Could they just?
They both start with double letters, so maybe there can be some kind of tribute to there. Maybe he can be Aatrox from now on or something.
But in all seriousness, this is what I love to see. I think that if I'm not mistaken, I think it was a 2% pick rate on Aatrox. This split.
Aatrox. Someday Aatrox.
Oh my God!
Good work.
There it is. Someday Aatrox. I think there's a 2% pick rate. This is the thing I always wonder. And because I'm also stupid, Cole, I always have these thoughts and then I dismiss them as stupid thoughts. Sometimes I think just because you're not seeing a champion being picked, 100% of the time, like some of them are, is there any viability in them? And let me ask you, Cole, if you would say, if I presented you with, I took the icon away, the name of the champion away, you didn't watch it, and I said, okay, there's a champion, Cole, that goes 5-0-6 and has a 300 CS at the end of the game, close to 80, 70, 80 CS more than slain opponent. Viable or not? This is the game. It's a game show. Viable or not viable champ? You have one guess, Cole. Would you guess yes or no? Viable or not viable?
I don't know. Does Khan play it? Does Smed play it? I heard that reference to Summit, like on JLXP, right? I think, but point taken.
You get what I'm saying,
right?
And that's why I love this, because it's not, they didn't refer to the the LCS draft owner's guide to say which one of these champions are we allowed to pick has more than 60% presence across all regions. It's got to be one of these 10. It's just like, oh yeah, Someday can always play Aatrox. Champ's good.
Well, if LS was still around, he'd be proving all these picks and their worth, and we'd have lots of options. Oh gosh, I shouldn't do that on the podcast, guys. I don't actually hate that guy. All right, I don't. He's smart about draft, man. He just wasn't right for a coach and a team. Anyway, yeah, point taken. Sometimes you just forget about the viable things that are outside of what's typically picked. It's not like Aatrox ever really flew out of the window or anything. He's always kind of been there in the background, just behind the curtain, like, whenever y'all are ready.
Yeah.
I'll play with Someday.
You guys just call me if you need me.
Yeah. So good job. Good job. Good job by the draft.
Yeah.
Banned the bans, picked the picks, and
queued the cues. Yeah, that knock up on the Scion hammer charge. Whoa, that was a good.
Don't you love when they call those interactions out when they happen? It's like it's like they were holding on to that comment and then they finally had a chance to use it instead of seeing it and realizing it.
Yep.
Suspect. Anyway, so the Aatrox pick went well. Do you know what didn't go well? Our face checking.
Oh.
Not to poo-poo on this game, but this game was very close until 28 minutes. All right. So let's not dismiss that. And part of the reason why it was very close for so long is because 2, maybe even 3 occasions, I can't explain why we did what we did, but we just walked into face check place where it was pretty obvious they were going to be. You know, and there's one in particular where like closer like walks into the bush at mid lane on the south side.
South of bush. Yep.
And it's like they just had vision on like 2 or 3 champions right there. Like it was just a couple seconds ago. And Closer just like walks in as the bear, you know, like, and then as soon as he gets in there, they're like engaged on him. He's like, whoa, and jumps out, you know, with the ult. And it's like, oh, because we kind of needed that for the dragon fight, but
we would have liked to have had that ult. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Abadaga did a face check that got blown up at some point. I think who he did as well, but you know, chat will have to check me on those.
Here's what I gotta say about the face checking. I think face checking is like the biggest dice roll in professional league. You have a couple choices. I mean, you can, if you have a ranged ability, use it, check, you know, see if they're in there. Otherwise, you're gonna have to burn a control ward, a trinket.
It's not like, you know, Vex has a ranged ability, right?
No. Volibear? I guess he could have R'd in, you know?
Yeah. Oh, guys, hold on. Let me check this. No, but look, Abadaga does. And you know what? I'm pretty sure, I need to go back and watch, but I'm pretty sure that Closer had right with him someone who could have checked it.
Probably.
You know, so I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. This is my theory, Cole. If I'm doing mental gymnastics, it's to say you there are not a lot of plays.
Is this are we debuting our new segment? We weren't planning on doing this tonight, but the new segment is here.
I got one. I'm ready for it. Here,
mental gymnastics, the new segment from 100 Talk.
I'll do a backhand.
Let's get loosened up. Let's get limber here. All right.
Oh, pop my back.
Go ahead.
I'm ready. Oh, here it is. Okay. The reason that we face check so often is not because we're not thinking clearly. It's because we're thinking clearly.
No, I don't know what the take is here, but I just know that as we've been talking about starting this mental gymnastics segment, that there's no better like first example of it than how you worded that.
It's not what you think, Cole. It's the opposite. And let me tell you why.
Wait, say it again.
It's not that we're not thinking clearly. It's that we're thinking clearly. And so let me just expand on that a little bit. There are only so many odds-based decisions you make throughout the course of one game, right? Many of them you're just going to go for, you know, you're not going to take a fight if the odds are too low. You're not going to go for a steal if the odds are too low. A face check, the odds are always man, this is going to be hard to do. It's all coming apart as I go. The odds are always
that's why I call it mental gymnastics.
I got you. So the odds are always low that you're going to, you know, accomplish what you're hoping to, which is safe passage through the part of the map that you have no justification to assume safe passage through. But in the event that you are wrong and you have something like an ultimate ability on cooldown, the cost is low enough that even though the odds are not in your favor, you are able to mitigate the damage of a failed bet in a substantial enough way that it's the right call.
What if you need that ability or summoner spell or whatever for the very important objective that's coming up right then?
Yeah, that is something you should be thinking about. However, it's still the right move always. And that is how I'm mentally gymnasting my way. Gymnasting. That's the new verb. Gymnasticking. My way out of this one. Cool.
We'll accept that.
Mission accomplished.
Well, that was your first ever mental gymnastics segment. Mm-hmm. It wasn't planned, nor was it exactly what we had in mind, but it worked just brilliantly. So if I'm the judge scoring that gymnastics routine you just performed, I give you a Russia score, suspiciously low.
I would expect nothing less.
Disagree with the premise entirely. It's like, tactical death. Hear me out.
I expected to be judging figure skating when I arrived.
He can use everything in the world to get out of it and then run away as fast as he can and give up everything that he's fighting for and the reason he's there in the first place.
Exactly.
Oh, not sure I agree with that. I give you the Russian judge. Anyway, that was just something I saw that was really annoying in this game. And honestly, it prolonged it. It literally did prolong the game. Yeah. There was a missed ult by Abadaga too, that could have turned the game earlier, but fortunately he did not miss when it counted. Like I said, around 28 minutes or so, we had that very big, was it for Soul? I don't know if it was for Soul or not, but it was a dragon fight. And
Soul or Elder? I can't.
Was it Elder? Yeah, I can't even remember now. But in any case, Abadaga just bided his time in the bush, waiting for the perfect moment to ult in on the Vex, and he got Takui. And Takui, has been, when aside from Jose Deodo, Hecarim, Takui's been our weakness against this team. Takui has really fried us, and removing him out of the equation early was good. And from that point, we never really looked back. I mean, you look at this gold graph right here. It's basically even all game, and then it just at 28 minutes just falls off a cliff for them, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. In fact, I think was that the fight where it's I think it was for Soul, because I think when we won the fight, we got Soul and Baron at the same time, right, and got all the turrets and won another fight. And it was if you're tracking the reward of a Baron take, maybe, I don't know if that's the route you want to take, but if you're tracking here's the Baron power play, in the upper corner, it's going to be plus 8,000 and Nexus.
Yeah, right.
It was a very effective section of the game.
Infinity sign, right? Yeah. That's the only way to represent the value of that, because you just won the whole game.
Yeah. It was crazy. It was all right, and yes, that's the whole game. All of it. Yes, just happened. Right. Very effective work by the boys. So, in the end, I really do feel like people were oh yeah, 100T's crushed FlyQuest, and it didn't really feel that way to me. No. I think it was a solid win. But a win that was earned later in the game, Yeah. Now, here's something weird to me. Hold on, I'm trying to think if I should save this, because we will talk about it later. Yeah, I'm going to save it. Okay. I'm going to save it. It's saved. Right click, save as. Just like NFTs. Okay, so in that case, GG's everybody. 2-0 weekend locked in. Great. So after the 2-0, like I said, Mithy gave an interview to Parqueso. And again, if you haven't watched this, you really should. In fact, maybe we can dig up the link and post it in chat in case.
Oh, yeah.
So I just saw in chat, Kale said bited BYTED, his time THYME. Okay. Anyway, the Mithy interview. So I don't I'm kind of shocked at how that information just came out quickly. Because he basically I don't know. I'm gonna play part of it, but in the beginning, he was asked what's changed from, how has the team changed and evolved from the end of Worlds until now, because same roster, and we've come back and it's been a little rough or whatever. And Mithy said something that we definitely hadn't hypothesized on the pod before. And he said, I have a couple of quotes that I can pull up. So one is, he said, between summer and spring, the team, as in the players, wanted more space, so we gave it to them. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. He later clarified, he said the team really gave their hearts and souls to summer, and wanted to balance work and life a bit better. So, and he said, and they let them. So they granted that request to the team.
Yep.
And then things didn't go so well. And so they like have reined it in over the past 2 weeks. So not what I was expecting to hear.
Yeah.
It's if we are to take this at face value and if we're understanding it properly, sounds like the team was like, hey, we are kind of burnt out. And we've been going all the time with this, and we just want to like relax and be trusted to kind of handle a preparation more on our side than before. And we'll still do our scrims and we'll still do this, but just like scale it back a little bit so we can manage the burnout portion of it. And lo and behold, didn't seem to work. So that puts us in a bit of a pickle here. Because like, okay. We have to ask ourselves, do we like or dislike that the team was like, yeah, cool. Take some time. We'll trust your preparation. We'll scale back. We'll not hit it quite as hard. Do we like or dislike this, Jordan?
I mean, I think time will tell, right? Like if
I think time has told, because the point is they reeled it in, and we've won since then.
Yeah. Big picture, I think is what you got to look at, right? So, I would use. I think the only way you want to do that is if you have confidence that if a switch needs to be flipped, and you need to go into all out mode, you can do that, right? And, like you can only work at max capacity for so long, anybody and anything, before you start to break down and you don't want to do it, or you can't do it, or you're not doing it. So I think it's, I think if you look at where we are today, which is third place, alone in third, for a spring split that some would say doesn't matter, that Sly Penguin in chat is saying doesn't matter. Maybe that's fine. Maybe that's, if you're looking at your list of objectives for the split, maybe this is an okay place to be with 5 games left. Papa Smithy calls out that it seems unlikely that we're going to leave with a 1 seed. A 2 seed might still be possible if some things go our way. But we've got the double elimination in the bag pretty well. I don't know if it's actually mathematically locked, but so I think
I think your chronology is a little wrong here.
On what?
You're talking about Papa Smithy like saying it's cool because we've got the 3rd seed, maybe a 2 seed. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that the question I'm putting out there is, if you are weighing out whether this was a good thing to do and whether we like it, the benefit here is the players, you would presume, are less gassed, right? At this point, they've not been sprinting the whole split.
Okay.
And the outcome is that you're in 3rd place. And maybe from an overall, state of the program standpoint, you'd say, we can live with that, right? We gave them the slack that they asked for. And now we're going to ask them to hit another gear going into playoffs. And they all know that. We know that.
This is very interesting.
It's not like we're sitting in, I mean, we're close. This weekend could have gone a very different way, right? So I'd say by no means is this like a clear, like, oh yeah, calculated 100%. They knew this would happen. I mean, we very nearly were tied with Golden Guardians after Saturday. So
plus,
it could have gone a different way.
I wish we had Mithy here, because I'm telling you, the way I read that interview, it was not like okay, we've given you your time. Great. Everybody's rested and relaxed. So let's dial it back up so we can get back into form. I didn't read it that way. I read it as, all right, guys, we tried to trust you on this and it did not work. We're taking back over.
Yeah,
that's how it felt to me. And not like this, great, everybody got what they wanted. It seemed to me to be like 100 Thieves was like, hey, we tried. Like we tried to let you have extra time and extra space, and clearly the form is not there when we do that. So we, sorry, but we have to do things our way again. So I don't see it as like we granted them the break that they needed and now we're in the right place. I read it as we're 6-5 and things could get really out of hand here if we don't take the reins, you know? And so look, the way that we did that was wrong. So now let's do that the right way. That's what it feels like to me.
I think there are shades of right and wrong, right? It is still a benefit if the players feel like mentally in a better spot. You know, that's whether or not you feel like overall you're where you want to be.
There's a benefit to the players, right?
Yeah.
There could be detriment to the org at the cost of that benefit, right?
For sure.
So it's where do you come down on that? And it's interesting because guess what? Guess what your prize is for winning spring? It's
games.
a lot more games. You know, a lot more scrims and a lot more games. So, but is that valuable? Is the international experience worth that? So you kind of have this philosophical thing, which, and by the way, I do not speak for them. Okay. But just the way that I read Mithy, it kind of felt like he was like, yeah, we tried it. It got out of hand. We reined it back in. And now we're starting to see the improvement that we need to, you know? Yeah. And to me, that's like, hey, we messed up by trying this. So I feel like it's a darker take on it. And it's kind of that, you know, uncomfortable reality, right? Of when you are in professional sports, like you do kind of burn yourself out to win, you know, and that's just kind of the nature of the beast. Right. So, and Pop Smitty's in chat. This is great. He says it's never messing up trying to tune work-life balance. Yes, but again, and Pop, feel free to comment. We'll read whatever you want read on here, or if you prefer to not weigh in, that's totally cool too. But just again, detriment to the org at some point happens if the players aren't informed. So where do you come down on that?
Well, I think it's this, right? This is how I see it. The org has objectives. The team, the program, the org overall, right? Like championships is the org level priority. The program level priority is different, more nuanced, probably from split to split, week to week, you know, scrim to scrim. And I think that it's possible to give ground in the interest of one objective, which is having healthy and, you know, engaged players. Because here, like, you could go full bore every week. You know, we're going to do scrims all day and then 4 hours of VOD review every night.
Right.
And I don't know what their actual, maybe that's not actually crazy. I don't know. But you know what I'm saying? Like, there is a maximum.
We don't know. Yeah.
You're sleeping at the compound every day. We got cots in the back room. No one's leaving here until we hang another banner.
Right.
There's a maximalist approach to this. So there is, you know, when you identify the end of that spectrum, which is you can go way too far, there are points before that which are also too far. And what you can't do is inadvertently creep into those points and then hit playoffs and compromise your longer term objective in the interest of the short term, getting wins. So in theory, I'm fine with the idea. And I think it's good that there is a back and forth compromise and conversation about what is needed. And we'll tell you what's needed on our side, which is to, you know, deliver on what we've stated we're going to deliver on, both the organization and to our fans. So we're gonna set some lines here. If we lose this weekend, if we go 0-2 this weekend, we are in a place that we really don't think is good. So we're kicking it up a gear, right? Like we are, and I think that the nuance there is not waiting too long to do that, because there is a ramping up period, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't just suddenly, unless you have the talent to do this, you can't just suddenly say, this week we're going to work harder and we're going to play that much better.
Yeah, it's that, because it's not just an on-off switch, like you were saying.
And it's not, you're not playing this game in a vacuum, right? If everyone else has been crunching and putting in, you know, 40 hours more a week in review and practice and scrims, then they're going to have a gap on you that is not easy to close.
Yeah.
So it's a balance for sure.
Yeah. And
I think it's super interesting.
Yeah, and we should read what Pop Smithy said in chat. So he said, we know what this roster looks like when it's the last Sunday of the season under the big lights. And if you push for that each week, you end up peaking at the wrong time or burning out. So we'll continue the give and take as we can afford to. So the as we can afford to, I think, is really critical. Like ultimately, Papa Smithy is judged on his ability to win games and have the program in a winning form at all levels, right? Mm-hmm. And so you always have those things kind of at odds with each other or whatever. But it's really interesting to me to hear this idea that we relaxed a little bit.
Yeah.
Let the players have more cushion, mm-hmm. and had to bring it back to make sure that we didn't totally blow the spring split because we were, not in the best position.
Well, and I think another interesting thing is the scrutiny never lets up. The scrutiny mm-hmm. from analysts, from the desk, from us, from fans, is always, and this is, maybe this is something we should evaluate. When we talked about the beginning of the split, we all thought that we would see this team looking the best it's ever looked, right? And I think the interesting thing is to be at the level that was best we ever looked. I'm sure we were working harder than we'd ever worked, right?
Yeah.
Like you think about the camp and preparation that went into EDG and that win, and it wasn't the same as the amount of prep you put into week 6 spring split, because it can't be physically. It's not possible, and if that's what you're doing every week, then you will burn out. Everyone will by the time you get to playoffs, which is where you actually need it to be on.
Yeah. Now I kind of want to revisit this whole does spring split matter thing, because again, the prize for winning is playing a lot more. So you're walking a fine line. Now I would guess, and if Pop's still in the chat, maybe he can weigh in, but I would guess that of course you want to push for that win because it's meaningful. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I guess, trying to round into the right form at the right time is the good move. Mm-hmm. But it's very interesting. I mean, like in that same interview, Mithy mentions how the World's Boot Camp just got screwed up because of the visa situation. It was hard to get everybody on the same page, which is kind of like, mostly out of your control with stuff like that. There's not a lot you can do about that, but the players didn't feel like super great about how that went for those reasons. So Mithy mentions they came out of that experience like feeling a little iffy about everything. So it sounds like they wanted to reset and maybe just reset a little too much. And so now continuing to tune the work-life balance, as Papa mentioned, getting things back into form. But I mean, again, I don't know about you. Maybe this was on your radar. This wasn't really on my radar. Like I'm sitting here like, it's really weird that we don't look as good this split, and I can't really figure out why, and sometimes there are more simple answers, and not to blame it 100% on this, because it's always going to be a combination of factors, and this is going to be one contributing factor as to many, but it's just part of the game we're playing. But it's interesting because this snowballs into the 6-man roster discussion, which, it continues to be something that we'll never be able to put down. I actually wanted to play a clip from this interview where Parqueso asked Mithy about tenacity in particular. So let's go to that real quick. I don't know how this scene's going to look, so we're just going to hope for the best here. Okay, it's not too bad. All right, so let's listen into this question and clip.
I do have a question about the roster. Obviously they did add on tenacity, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure he just played like a game or two in lock-in. I don't think we've seen him otherwise. Is that still something that like the team is looking to use a 6-man roster, and like you just have to make sure that the first 5 are really solid and then he'll come in, or what is the development there?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely want to try and use Milan. It's just a question of like during the boot camp and during like the first few weeks, Someday was just clearly like performing better and pretty well. Like maybe took all of our MVPs. Like it was even clear on stage that he was definitely our backbone at the time. And just the whole like you said, like the team as a whole was not doing well, and it just felt like adding one more person, regardless of whether he's Gumayushi off top lane or not, it would just create more chaos in our team, and we just sort of needed to have like a good foundation to start building on that. So, I mean, it sucks for him, and I mean, he's been looking at our scrims and trying to help us wherever we can, and we're slowly trying to like give him some time. But we also need to care for like the team success in general, and it's like we are trying to make him play and make it work, but it's important that we don't sort of like scramble all the cake by doing that, so you just have to tread carefully.
Okay, so this is very like it's like another layer on what we talked about last week, where it's like, they came out and said, I forget, maybe it was Papa who came out and said, like Sunday's playing as good as you can expect him to play. You don't want to throw off a player when he's in that in that form, which is something that you and I both have said and agreed with. And in this, again, just kind of trying to read between the lines and how this question is being answered. It's like, yeah, Tenacity's there. He's trying to help us when he can, but it kind of sucks for him, right? It's like kind of like maybe he's not getting, the plan, the original plan kind of just had to change because of the form Someday found himself in, combined with the other issues that the team had. That's kind of what it sounds like to me. And also sounds like, I don't know, maybe the 6-man dream is just done now. We had that statement where it's like, we're committed to, like all parties are committed, right? Tenacity and the team to doing this through the end of the split and then reevaluating from there.
Yeah.
So I just wonder if the stars didn't align for this to happen at all. It sounds like at this point, like they're probably not even really going to try this. There's just not a lot of time left in the split to do it. And some days still, I mean, we saw the Aatrox game, right? Like some days still a beast. And so, going into playoffs, don't want to throw off the rhythm, right? But what's your reaction to that? Like, how do you read how Mithy talks about that? And do you catch anything else in between the lines?
It feels consistent with what we had heard previously. I think it was the Reddit post. If I'm keeping my different comments straight.
Yeah. That's right. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, it just feels like it's what he said is consistent with what we'd all understood, which is that is something that you bring in. It's kind of like, yeah, look, it sucks. It's a bummer. It sucks for him. Wish it could happen. But when you think about what it would take for it to happen, like it's not like this is a bad situation overall. It's kind of the ideal situation, right? We were prepared. We had a plan in place if we needed to consider a roster change. Turns out we didn't, and we don't. Like that is actually best case scenario, right? For the specific thing is that best case scenario for Tenacity? Of course not. But
it depends, right? As I've said many times, we are not sure what his day-to-day schedule is. If we knew that, and I don't think we deserve to know this. I'm not saying they're wrong for not telling us what he's doing, but we don't know what his day-to-day schedule is. Right now, we're of the opinion that he is getting a smaller percentage of split time, probably not doing a whole lot anymore, especially, but he's there in the room, talking about the reviews, talking about the scrims and everything, but not playing a whole lot. Maybe we're wrong on that assumption, right?
I think Mithy said at one point, like, we're trying to get him involved in scrims, which means he's not, getting scrim time. So that's
or at least not substantial scrim time.
Yeah. So, I think the overall message there is probably that this was a contingency plan we had ready that we didn't need, and they're gonna have to reevaluate what that means for the overall depth chart come next split.
Well, we know top lane is a blessed position for 100 Thieves. So as we said before, great problem to have.
Yeah, and I think that I guess for me, the hope is not that, and I feel like this has never been the hope. Like, of course, it's a good story and it's cool to think about for Tenacity to see him start his career in the LCS. But as a fan, I think that for me, the most important thing is that we have what feels like the best possible lineup.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm glad that the way it turns out is that they have made the hard decision here to just stick with what's working, knowing that there was a lot of interest from the community in seeing Tenacity have his shot. So that's not an easy call to make either. I mean, it might be easier than we think because they also want to win first and foremost.
Yeah.
But they recognize that it's a kind of a bummer situation in that sense. But got to win games.
Yeah. So this may in fact be the last time this split that we talk about 6-man rosters.
Could be. Yeah.
Quite possible that it is. So I know our listeners will rejoice at that. Okay. we're going long, but I do want to visit this one question. So I've been helping out a friend of the family here and walking their dog in the morning.
Solid move.
Yeah, guy had an operation, can't walk the dog. So I'm over there walking the dog. He's a beautiful dog. Happy to do it. Anyway, I was listening to JLXP while I was walking the dog this morning, and it was Freak and Jat, and they are, going back and forth and talking about how strong Team Liquid and C9 looked, and they consistently refer to them as just like Freak even at one point says, he's like, we're talking about which one of these teams is better. We've only had, a couple games between them. By the end of finals, we'll have 2 best of 5s to see these teams together, because it's going to be winners finals and then grand finals. It's going to be against, between these 2 teams, and we'll be able to make a better decision there. Doing stuff like that and constantly referring to them as like the 2 title contenders. And we are, as you mentioned, alone in 3rd, right?
Yeah.
We're in a lonely 3rd place. And so first of all, my reaction to that is like, dang, man, show some respect. At the same time, it's hard to really, make the case for us. Other than, we did beat Team Liquid in the first round robin. But that was without Core JJ. Things are different. But it's like, man, we're reigning champs. We're in 3rd, but we are 2 games back. And it's just like, I'm realizing in this, something we've said, we now expect to be winners. We expect to be in that, in the contending category. And I'm kind of upset that we're not being viewed as contenders, even though I kind of think they're right as far as we are playing right now. The thing is, and chat's already going there. A couple people in chat are already going there. Is it better that way for us? Did we not have some kind of chip on our shoulder going into playoffs? Like the end of our split in summer was not solid. It was very unpredictable, looked shaky. And then it kind of seemed like the team rallied under the no one believes in us mentality. Something that Bill Simmons mentions a whole bunch on his podcast when he's talking about, traditional sports teams, nobody believes in us factor, just amping up a team's performance. I don't know. Where are you feeling at this? Do you want to be in that contender category, or do you prefer to be the dark horse?
If I had to pick, I'd say, put us back at the top, right? Like, I wouldn't be mad to be in the 1 spot.
I don't mean to be the 1 seed. I mean to be how people view and talk about us.
Here's what I will say. I think there is a scenario here, especially with what we just talked about, with the work that they've been doing so far this split, from a balance standpoint, from a longevity standpoint. There is a scenario where we actually do have, and you have to be careful here because it can start to sound a lot like copium, but you actually do have a scenario where we have, this isn't our final form, right? And I think it's easy. Here's the difference. Nobody was saying that this is what we were up to. And this is not like the official public line. So it's not like they're saying, oh, you think that you can beat us now. Just wait until we start trying. Like that's not on the Twitter account. It's not official.
Yeah.
We're reading between the lines here a little bit. But I think from a fan standpoint, what you're wondering is this form that we've been showing lately more representative of end of summer split where we won the dang thing, or is it something different? And what we're hearing is a little bit that would make us say maybe it's something different. And there still seems to be a belief in the program. That's some of the comments we're hearing, that we do still have that form. We're still capable of that form. It's not that we are trying our hardest and we've just found that the LCS has improved overall too much since the last split. And we have a gap that we need to try to find a way to make up. That's not what we're hearing. You don't make those kinds of statements until playoffs, of course, until you're out of playoffs.
I don't know, because that's kind of like what JLXP was saying, right? It was kind of like, look, these teams have leveled up and they are above.
That's what everyone else is saying. I think that's the common. And where was it? It was I think it was also in the Mithy interview where he's kind of asking, like, does it feel like the LCS is better overall? Maybe
he does ask it. Yeah, he asked him that. Mm-hmm.
And I think that it was either him or Papa Smithy said, I think specifically Papa Smithy was saying in the Twitter space that it does feel like the rest of the LCS is improved, right? Like the reason that these games are close with FlyQuest, with Golden Guardians, is not because we are necessarily playing poorly. These teams are good and they have really strong individual pieces and they can bring them together in some cool ways. So I don't know. I think for me, it does, you can't know how right now we're getting some things that would make it appear that the team doesn't yet feel like we have hit our full stride.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not you buy that is up to you individually as a fan. But I think it's possible. And if for no other reason than we may not have even been saying that as loudly last split and we did win. So I do think it's possible. And I also think that Cloud9 and TL are better than they were last split. So
yeah, it does seem like they are. It's kind of funny. I mean, if you remember last week on the pod, I was talking about how during the cast they were referring to us as a top team, right? And I was like, they're kind of maybe overpraising us right now. It didn't feel like maybe we were deserving of that. And now here I am on the other side being like, but I want to be. But you talk about us better, please. So yeah, I it's a weird space to be in. I do think right now the third place ranking seems appropriate. So we'll see if the continued focus ramps us up. Fortunately, at least for this upcoming week, our strength of schedule is not too tough, and we've got a. You just have to make sixth place. I don't know what the bye system is. I think maybe only the top two get buys. Is that how it's done here?
What I'm imagining is there's a play-in. I don't know.
Because there's 6 spots, and I would assume buys for the first two, but I'm not sure. So chat will always tell us. They always know. But what I do know is we're 2 games back with 5 games to play? Yeah, 5 games to play. It's not easy to make up 2 full games on, the top teams. So this may be the spot we find ourselves in, is solid third place, and, let things come as they may from that point. And I think that's okay.
I'm not mad about it.
And as we've pointed out before, like it was kind of the situation when we won it all. We weren't in that 1-2 position. We weren't looking as consistent and strong. So we'll see. Hopefully the team can, maybe Lil Nas X can release another song to amp up the boys and they can get behind it. Because I will say, I do want to win spring. I still want to win spring. I want to go to MSI because I'm not the one playing all those hours. Sorry, players. Hopefully,
but you got to imagine they. I was thinking this earlier. I'm sure that this set of players is eager to get back to an international stage, and for that reason, I think it's actually even more important that they don't show up already burnt out. Like you ideally you do find a way to make that happen. you can kind of discuss the merits of the different ways of getting there. But yeah, you want to be fresh and ready to play your absolute best there. And I don't doubt at all. Like, you could talk about how spring doesn't matter. I don't doubt at all that for these players, they would not be incredibly disappointed to not receive that opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm positive they want to be there.
Yeah. Okay, let's do some listener takes, predictions, and get the heck out of here.
Do it.
First take from our boy Graph, who says, we've seen a lot of talk about 100T's lack of macro over the last few weeks, connecting it to poor macro over the last few splits. Do you buy the narrative that 100T has been plagued with macro issues? If so, should 100T address this issue with mid-season roster changes? So, two-part question. Is the narrative that we, on a split-to-split basis, not on a game-to-game basis, have macro issues? And if the answer to that question is yes, do we make roster changes at mid? Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I can go first. I'll have a shorter one. I think we've seen both sides of it. I think there have been periods where we've had incredible macro. I think there have been periods where we've had shocking macro, right? And I don't even think it's like this roster had great macro, this one didn't. I think you see variability within the team. So overall, I think that paints a picture of us not having, consistently great macro. But we're not a perfect team, so that's fine. And I don't think that means that we should do any roster changes.
Yeah, I actually, even if we had, even if it's like, yeah, we have macro issues, which, and I mean, like, in some degree, yes, right? Because we're not a perfect macro team. So by logic, yes, we have some macro issues, and it hasn't been consistent. But no team's going to be perfect, and even if we have some macro issues, I'm not up for mid-season roster changes. I'm for keeping the roster as is right now. Yeah. So,
if you're hearing anybody say that a team doesn't ever have macro issues or isn't capable of having macro issues, I think you should just disregard what that person is talking about, what they go on to say, because it's not even the best teams.
But we will need to be more consistent with our macro in order to win in the playoffs. So that's, that's a valid thing to say. It's a valid concern. Like you mentioned, we had flashes of brilliance. We mentioned last week how it looked like we were everywhere against CLG. That was like great. Just excellent. So, maybe we can do more of that, more Mad Lions VODs, right? Oh my Josh 5 says, I really hope we get more Vex from Abba. He looked really good on the champ, and I love the playmaking capabilities. And I want less Jinx from FBI. I know it's meta, but I feel he doesn't look as comfortable on it than the other champs he plays. Now, last week's pod was Jinx up Philios, right? I too am like a little, I'm not always in love with the FBI Jinx, but I don't think it's so much a product of like the champ as it is just what we haven't seen Vic in quite the form that he was in previous splits.
Yeah.
I think, and I mean, let's not forget, he did have a very good game against Golden Guardians. And I don't know. I just think like if he's playing up to his standards on pretty much every champ he's going to take, he's going to be a monster. So I think it's more just him not being in the form that we were used to more than the champ, even though I will also say I'm kind of sick of it. And I don't love that pick. It seems like a lot of the ults miss. That's just I may be wrong. Remember the I may be wrong segment. That's
yeah.
Good news though. Actually, it just so happens our next take goes right into that. So let's read this from. I don't even think I should say this guy's name out loud. His Twitter handle.
Make a new name.
Well, his actual handle had Gabe in it, so let's call him Gabe.
There you go.
Who said Kai'Sa increasing in popularity is a great sign for 100T. In my opinion, we will see FBI in top form with her, one of his signature aggressive picks. It will definitely help the champ pool issue for bot lane, and I totally agree with this. So, early in the season, we were like, hey, maybe we're kind of victims of the meta a bit when it comes to the bot lane. But now, Kai'Sa's coming back. If FBI is allowed to play that, he will be great on it. Mark my words.
Yeah. there's a bigger conversation here we haven't had at all, which is, I think the reason you continue to see FBI on Jinx is in part just because it is so meta. And the overall meta, works well with that champion. It's very possible that the meta throughout the split, which has been, pretty steady, just isn't as favorable to us. And that will change, right? That will change over time.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if it changes before playoffs. That will be, like if something like a Kai'Sa does come back in, that introduces an entirely new playstyle.
Oh yeah, Kai'Sa's back for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that has to be a positive for us. We'll see what the actual change is, but I think we've weathered a pretty unfavorable meta for our team overall. In general.
Curly QQ from our boys at Flight Check Crew said, given yesterday's match and the fact that 100T pulled a Misfits on Saturday, I think the team has third place locked in. You guys are still good. Hope to see you in playoffs. And that is Curly atoning for his 6th place prediction for 100 Thieves. He was kind of right for a while, and then he's been kind of wrong, and hopefully he will continue to be wrong, even though we love him dearly. Curly, thank you. And
question: If we lost that Golden Guardians game, would we be in 6th place now?
No, 6th place is 2 games behind.
Okay, we'd be close.
We'd be in 4th. Yep. So, all right. And it wouldn't be a take segment without a take from JC101. Who provides us with hot take. Papa Smithy's comment on practicing mental fortitude and resilience included the intentional throw against GG to get real practice on stage. Maybe we should have nominated this for the mental gymnastics segment. And let's leave it at that. Love you, JC. Okay. So coming up, like I mentioned, the strength of schedule for us is kind of favorable. We play Immortals, who are the 9th place team, sitting at 4-9. Last week, they lost to both C9 and Dignitas. Jordan, will the fire alarms be pulled this weekend?
No, Cole. They have been removed from the building. It violates code. That is no longer possible.
It violates code to have fire alarms.
No, to not have fire alarms. Their building is no longer within code.
Oh, gotcha. All right.
The league required that.
I heard it backwards. My bad.
Yeah, no, you're good.
So that is a loss for them.
For them,
yeah.
Yeah. Is that what we're doing? The prediction?
Yeah, we're predicting from the other perspective this week. That's
a
how
loss
we're
for them,
rolling. A loss for them. Yeah, Gihoto isn't even over there, so it's not as fun to talk mess about Immortals.
That's right.
Oh gosh. I gotta say, man, I get the feeling. I get the feeling, but I'm going to brain this one over the heart, and I'm gonna say we win. We win against the 9th place Immortals as we continue to find our form. Going into Sunday's game against EG, currently in 6th place, surprising 6th place, by the way.
Yeah.
At 6-7, they last week lost against the mighty Team Liquid, but they won against the mighty TSM. Your thoughts?
This is a tough one for me. I said this last week. I'm going to say it again. I said this last week, and it was almost directionally right. That I don't think I got the games mixed up. Predicted the opposite. We were so close to losing that Golden Guardians game. I'm gonna say that we are still not fully there, Cole. We're ramping up, but I don't think we're fully ramped yet. I think we lose to EG, and I think that they are underperforming, and my sense is that they are also going to be making a late season push for playoff standing. They're going to want this game very badly.
Yeah, their backs are against the wall in their current position, so that's going to be huge. And I think that they might put all hopes on Danny, and if they do, that could be very bad for us. I too am feeling like a loss is coming from EG this weekend. It's just like a storm of things that go against, like, if I'm the protagonist, like this is like the worst scenario for me. Because just let me break it down. Impact in top lane. What does he do?
Yeah.
He historically stalls out someday, despite not deserving it. What do they got in jungle? An EU jungler. Jungler. You know what I mean? I hate EU. What do we have in mid lane? My Huni, right? I don't get it. But he'll show us, right? He'll win in lane like he always does, or whatever the line is. So Jojo P. Then we got Danny, who I still have nightmares about the Tristana play from playoffs. And Vulcan, who seems nice.
He's got a nice Tom Kench.
That's the thing. So do we ban it? Yeah. I just think it's the unfortunate Cole curse of liking 100 Thieves is gonna put us in the hole against EG. So we go 1-1 this weekend. And I went with Brain for one of the predictions, and I'm going with Heart for the other. So we'll see. We will see. But that doesn't mean I'm not hoping for a 2-0.
Always hope for 2-0.
Yeah. Always hope for the 2-0.
If all this was what do you hope will happen?
The greatest segment of a podcast. Weekend? Would you like to win this weekend? What do you think about Immortals? Do you want to beat Immortals?
I do. Sometimes, I'm going to be honest. Sometimes I treat this segment that way.
You do. I'm not going to lie. You do. All right. Well, we're not going to subject the audience to any more of that. Let's just wrap this thing up. It's been a fun podcast, though.
It has been.
We rush debuted the new mental gymnastics segment. We'll have to fully build that out next time. Yeah. But guys, thanks for being here. Thanks to Papa Smithy for being in chat and adding some clarification to the conversation. It's been a weird split, but hopefully we're rounding into form and in these last 2 weeks. I mean, gosh, Super Week is going to be crazy. Super Week is going to be like absolutely insane. Everybody should like take off work and stuff for that.
Oh, would love to do that.
Yeah.
Count me in.
Good. I'm going to sign you up. 2 boxes of Thin Mints.
Let my boss know. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. We will do special rec league coming up this Thursday. It's going to be a Valorant rec league. Yeah, it's a sponsored rec league.
Yeah.
It's happening, people. So please watch out for that. Sign up. Interesting prizes this week. Prizes, plural. Ooh. And it should be a good time. A good night of Valorant coming up, courtesy of the OG Militime.
Yo.
It's going to be fun. All right. So everybody, we will see you on Thursday. In the meantime, as always, we love you.